the missionaries. They had one major problem, the language barrier. Because the Africans had their own languages. So the British, what they did was that they took some African boys from the town to England to train them as missionaries so they could bring them back and use them to preach to the local people. One of these boys taken came back alive. The name Kweku, and Kweku, the name given to a Wednesday-born male among the Akan people. Kweku was born in the town in 1741, and his father was a direct beneficiary of the transatlantic slave trade. The father was a middleman who used to bring Africans here to auction to the British. So the father was a very wealthy man in the community.
I bet.
At a very young age of just about 11 years old, the British convinced the father and they took Kweku to England. In England, he became an Anglican priest. He was the first non-European to be ordained a priest by the Anglican Church around 1765. And after becoming a priest, they brought him back. When he came back, he had a new name. So in England, he was baptized, given the name Philip. And over there, they were mispronouncing his original name. Kweku sounded as Kwaku. So the name changed from Kweku to Philip Kwaku. And the British used him during the slave trade. He stayed here preaching Christianity to his people in the town. So there is an Anglican church named after him, the Reverend Philip Kwaku Anglican Church. He also was used to promote Western education. So there are some schools as well named after him. Now, he died in 1816 at the age of 75. So he is one African who was used by the British to promote Christianity and Western education among the Africans in the community. Reverend Philip Kwaku.
Did they take parts out of the Bible where they were trying to teach Christianity?
Oh yeah! They were very selective with the scriptures. You know, they preached. They did focus on scriptures to justify, in the Bible there are scriptures that talk about the slave, respect your master, and all that. The story of Noah and his sons, the three sons, the one who looked at his nakedness was cursed, that his descendants would be slaves to their descendants. So they used
to justify what they were doing.
Yeah. And the Christianity the Europeans brought, it had nothing to do with salvation. It was for a purpose. They came with a white Jesus. Mm-hmm. And even today, in some of our churches, you still find the pictures of a white, blonde hair, white man, blue eyes,
Yeah, in America too. Mm-hmm.
Oh. So they came with that. So, and Satan and the demons always look just like you and I. We're black people. The angels were always white. Even at the very early stages of the churches, I grew up as a Catholic when I was a kid.
Catholic?
Yes.
Okay.
And in church, I was hearing more Latin than my own. Like I don't understand what they're saying. They say there's a response. So in the very beginning, they did not even allow African drums in churches. The dressing, it had to be European. So it was like, it's only now that they are infusing, African culture and all that. But in the beginning, these things were banned because they were seen as inferior, they were seen as, evil and all that. So the Christianity they came with, it was to serve a purpose. And that was to brainwash people to elevate the white as superior to the black. So that was it.
Prior to the 1500s, mm-hmm. was there any sort of like Christianity or the Bible in Africa, or they brought it with them?
Oh, there was. Ethiopia, Christianity had been there for...
So Ethiopia had the first part of Christianity?
Yes. In Africa, It was Ethiopia.
Who brought it to Ethiopia?
Oh, in the Bible, Philip in the Bible, mm-hmm. the Enoch he was from Ethiopia.
Okay.
So it had been to Ethiopia, Egypt. Christ was he smuggled to Egypt when the Pharaoh wanted to kill the kids or something? So it had been to Ethiopia, Egypt, and all that. But in West Africa, the Europeans who came to build these castles, they brought Christianity to West Africa. Yeah. But Ethiopia, it had been there years, centuries, yeah, before these Europeans. But on our shores, it started.
So did it start in Ethiopia or did it start in Europe and they brought it to Ethiopia?
Christianity?
Yes.
Oh, no, it was in, I think it was in, what do you call it? Ethiopia long before, the Romans kind of took up Christianity.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think it's called Christianity. I think that's important. Like you mentioned they had the Old Testament stuff, so Moses and all that stuff in Ethiopia. But none of the Jesus, none of the New Testament
exactly.
stuff, the Christ and all that.
So they I think that Ethiopia, you find what they call the Orthodox churches there. That's what they call it.
Orthodox.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it, like you said, it's a bit different from the Christianity
of today.
Yes.
So they mixed and mastered it. That's
yeah.
Okay.
So we're very selective with the scriptures, and even today, Ghanaians are very selective with the scriptures.
That family. He said, and I want to break this down. He said that the British took 2 Ghanaians to Great Britain to teach them Christianity, right? And then when they came back, I believe his name was Philip. When he came back, he started to teach Christianity. Was, that white was right and dark was wrong, essentially, right? Dark was evil. And this is, some of the first stages of indoctrination. They made some of the first missionaries in that region of Ghana, right? To look like you and I. What's the best way to fool somebody? For them to blend in. And then you're like, well, he like you. Why would he lie? Why would he confuse you? Why would he do such a thing? But this is the history, family. They've been doing it for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So they get people to look like you, to undermine you, trick you, manipulate you. I've been telling you this for a very long time. And so happily, the brother's talking about Christianity. And I just need to get this off my mind very quickly. What he said is that basically the Europeans came over through the way of Egypt and eventually, of course, got to Ghana and started to indoctrinate them with Christianity by using their own. Now, a part of this story that I did not add in is when we was in the main part of the slave dungeon, he told us right above the slaves in the dungeon, they was having church, right? So even then, they were still practicing so-called Christian faith while still having our own people in bondage. Now, I want you to make the correlation there. The reason why I said European Christianity, because there is some history, there is some records that said there was a form of religion, not Christianity. Christianity actually gives it an improper name. It wasn't another form of Christianity. It was another religion. They essentially gathered books together to put in one book. And they said some of the stories inside of the Christian European version that they mixed and mastered some of the stories. Now, if you notice, no one has really put these together to show you the difference because they just know there was a difference and there's no hardcore records, right? Just other writings about those writings, other dockets about those documents. So those are the things that we have to think about. But what we know is that the form of Christianity that melanated people practice across the world, over 80%, is Christianity. And everywhere you go, remember when I took you guys to Brazil and I took a picture in front of the Christ Redeemer statue and he was like this? Well, ladies and gentlemen, Portugal is the ones that colonized Brazil. Majority of the people are melanated. And I gave y'all my whole riff about when I went over there that the lighter skinned Brazilians and the whiter skinned Brazilians were doing 5 to 10 times better than anyone of a brown or darker complexion like myself. And then I talked to some ex-football player over there, and he told me it was classism, not racism. I said, so how can you explain? I won't get into that. That's just too much to unpack. And I've been teaching you guys about Christianity because I tell you, I'm not trying to move you from your faith, right? I'm not no anarchist, Satanist, or anyone of that matter. I believe that there's a higher God, but when you really do the research, and no one really does the research, I went to the source. I've been planning this trip for a very long time because when I was a minister and I renounced my ordination, people thought I was crazy. And I said, I believe there's a higher power. But who am I to say, and this is just one out of 1,000 reasons why, who am I to say that the millions of people that practice the Hindu faith, the millions of people that practice Islamic faith, been Muslims and such, or those of Jewish, or of Buddhist religion, who am I to say that those millions and billions of people are going to go to hell simply because I believe in a different deity, a different religious document? Who am I to say that? Then what about the other lost books of the Bible? And people say they lost books because they will lead you astray, but that's what you would say as being a Christian, right? Because you don't want to, because anything add to or taken away from the Bible is considered heresy. It's considered evil. But this is from a historian who's a tour guide who is telling us how the European Christianity actually came onto the Ghana borders. And the majority of Ghanaian people are Christian. Still to this day, majority of them are Christians. And there's matter of fact, I know the numbers. 80% of Ghanaians are Christian, 15% of Ghanaians are Muslim, and 5% believe in the ancestral spirits of Africans before them. And believe in, I'm going to tell you the huge difference that I saw between the African ancestral spirits versus Islamic and Christianity is that those spirits were actually people who live. And those people who live were very good people, very humble people, and very meek. And so generations, people can actually let other descendants know about those people through stories, through acting out, because they were actually living beings, right? That's what that was essentially a lot of Africans' God was through living people, right? And of course, with the science and research of astrology, that took it to a higher plane of existence. I get it. But look how things come in. And now, majority of African people, whatever descent, whatever nationality, whatever tribal culture you're from, look at how we are now after colonization. See, have you noticed that even when I was in the Christian faith, no one really wanted to talk about how we receive Christianity. They just taught you how to pray. They just taught you how to serve. They just taught you how to be obedient to the word. Have you noticed that? Jermaine Anderson says Trojan horse syndrome, or shaking my head rather. Trojan horse, of course. And then he just said that some of the, Europeans took Africans to Europe to indoctrinate them with the Europeanized Christianity, brought it back over to the country of Ghana and started to indoctrinate the people. And out of the three things we kind of covered here tonight, this is by far the most important of them all. Because if someone can capture your spirit of where you believe your consciousness, right, your very energy to ascend to a heaven of being with a deity that's all powerful, all knowing, they have captured your mind and also your body. And I believe this is just what I believe, and I'm gonna scare a couple of with you, but stay and understand what I'm saying. You're now trapped because your thinking is now limited by your faith. Because instead of you operating from an abstract view of Christianity, you operate from within Christianity. So it's hard for you to see out of Christianity. It's like a tinted window at 0%. You can't see nothing, like limo tint. But if you are looking at a Bible from a view and you understand the history and you understand the origin, then you will understand that you are trapped. When this brother was saying some of these very words, my wife was on my right-hand shoulder. She was right behind me as I was video recording. I saw her tear up of how they essentially indoctrinated our people under hand and whip. Until this day, we are still trapped. When I was in Accra, Ghana, there were 3 types of rich people. 3 types. 1, non-Ghanaians, Lebanese, Chinese, Indian, Germans, Italians in Ghana. These are the 3 types of rich people. Number 2, anyone in the Ghanaian parliament, aka Ghanaian Senate, Congress, Ghanaian government, right? And then, oh man, then number 3 was Ghanaians who had churches, whether it be Catholic, non-denominational, Baptist, or just, they have a lot of churches of Pentecost. Let's say Church of Pentecost. But this is how it was. Until this day, we are still trapped by colonization through the book of Christianity. And when you tell a Christian who's been on fire, who's tempted, tested, and tried by God, who has been ordained, who's a deacon, who has been leveled up in the church, who you can't talk them out of their faith. Very, very few people who's been in church that long walk away. Now, granted, Generation X, the millennials, Generation Y, a lot less of us are going to church, and we're starting to really branch out. And some of us, I guess, just did it as we are evolving with intelligence and with the age of information and technology. But see, I wasn't so easily to walk away from this. It was just signs and wonders that showed me out, especially going through my ordination and, just reading all these theological documents. And then it's like, well, how in the hell could you believe that? Because through your research, you will essentially find out that when the Moors were going up to Europe, they already had some sort of African religion. And when they started to go to the shores of Africa, they saw how a people was obedient because of their faith, because of their religion. They took whatever religion that was, and I don't want to label it Christianity because people say it was another form of Christianity. No, that's a European word. We don't actually know. Okay, maybe there's a lost document out there I didn't read, but we don't actually know. But they took it to Europe, whatever that was, mixed and mastered it, because this was during medieval times in Europe. They said we need something to essentially have our people operate in a very what's the word I'm looking for? Civilized manner. Okay, then we can use this. And then they realized how effective it was. Very effective. They realized how effective it was. And then they use it on their own people. See, what a lot of other people don't understand, before they did anything to us, they did it to themselves first. That's how they know it works. That's how they know it works, because they practice on themselves first. All the torture chambers, you've seen those medieval movies and shows, those torture chambers, they practice all those heinous things on their own people and then brought it over through the transatlantic slave trade, right? This was going all over the Caribbean, Africa, Brazil, and America. So they have plenty of practice doing this. Until this day, think about how strong religion is, because someone captured your spirit, someone manipulated your spirit into believing. The first people, the people who develop a system to tell what time it was of the day, people who study the stars without modern day technology, will continue to believe this bull crap. This, let me break it down for you, family. I love giving you this one example about Christianity, and I'm not beating Christianity because I don't want people to be butthurt, because I really don't have any feelings towards it. If anything, I want people to be free in their own way. And I'm not saying Christianity is bad. It's kind of like a gun. A gun can be used for good and for bad. It's how you use it. Now, there's a lot of parables. There's a lot of wisdom in the Bible. Don't get me wrong. There is wisdom in the Bible. But this thing, the entire document, allegedly, was created for control. So even without wisdom, that would just show you the power of elevated minds. Now, some people say that that God bless ordained men to write the Bible, or was it just ordained men talking about a higher power? Think about that. Did God bless ordained men to, or God inspire men to write the Bible, or did inspired men or ordained men wrote the Bible about a God? See, there's a difference there. There's a sort of duality dynamic that you need to understand, that twist, because if they were inspired by God, then those are God's words. But if they just wrote about if they were just inspired and they wrote about a God from what they thought it would be, then those words are tainted. Let me tell you why the words are tainted. And I'll love to give you this example. Right? So if you read the book of Genesis, right from the very beginning, and you kind of fast forward, because the Bible does that from time to time. When you fast forward to the part where, God essentially cast Lucifer down to the to earth, and he allowed Lucifer to operate. And here's the thing I tell people. We always talk about the devil and evil and Satan and this, that, and the other. Don't forget, every time they depict Lucifer, they depict him as some sort of dark creature, right? Whether it be a man or an animal with horns, red eyes, blue eyes, whatever, right? But they say Lucifer was beautiful. But why didn't you destroy Lucifer? Why did you allow the devil to exist? And people always, God don't destroy anything he has created. Yes, he did. Someone told me that God does not destroy anything he has created. Like, yes, he did. Nor in the ark, didn't he destroy the world by water? Or didn't he kill off everything? But Noah had to say things 2 by 2. And then he came back and say he would never destroy the earth by water again. Like, that's a direct confliction. But anyway, so he cast Lucifer down, and then he allows Lucifer to enter the serpent. Some people like to call it a snake, whatever, to convince Eve to eat of the tree of knowledge and good, right? So if God is omnipotent, all powerful, all knowing, then he already knew that was going to happen, right? And then the first thing, does that make sense? No. And then they will tell you, well, God's mind is not your mind. God's ways are not your ways. What? but he's not a God of confusion, but I'm confused. Well, you don't know the word. You got to enlighten yourself with the word. Okay, well, explain it to me. They never can. They say, hey, you need to pray and have faith. See, that's not further indoctrination. That's reinforcement of your brainwashing. So think about that. And as Steve Bryan said, the only people who were literate were the religious leaders. They're the only ones who could essentially read, so they just believed whatever they was hearing. But till this day, and I'm gonna finish this video. Only got about 3 minutes left, but I get so fired up about this because people will beat me up because they feel out though I'm speaking against Christianity. No, I'm just telling you about it. Let me move on. I'm about to hurry up here. So Eve goes to Adam, tells Adam, eat of the tree, right? Hey, we heard some good fruit. You know, you put a little salt on it if you're from the hood, or you put some caramel on it in middle America. And then, you know, if you're white, you probably sprinkle a little sugar on it. I don't know. She said, go and eat of the tree with me, you know, the fruit or whatever. And some people like to say it's an apple. Let's just say that is a fruit because that's what the word says. And they go to eat this fruit and they realized, right, they became aware that they were naked. So they both hid behind a bush because now that means they were just walking around the Garden of Eden with no, with clothes on. And I have some stories about that, not to be funny. God, did he create flies? Because if your junk is hanging out and her junk is hanging, is it fly? Flies, mosquitoes. I'm like, hold on now. But anyway, I digress. Man. Anyway, it just was funny. I'm sorry, family. But then when you look at it, right, they realized that they were naked. God, his spirit came down on earth and he said, Adam, where are you? Read it for yourself, family, as I'm breaking it down. This is just Genesis. He said, Adam, where are you? Now, God is essentially toying with Adam. Why are you toying with him? You know where he is. You're God. Adam says, God, I'm behind this bush. Adam, why are you behind that bush? He knows why he's behind the bush, right? Okay. I'm gonna calm down. He knows why he's behind the bush. He said, because I am naked, God. He said, how do you know you're naked? Because this woman you gave me made me eat of the tree of knowledge and good. So the first sin on earth supposedly is disobedience. From a human being. I mean, one of the first sins recorded in the Bible is jealousy that Lucifer had for God. But again, I digress on that because if you all knowing, all powerful, omnipotent, first and the last, then when you created Lucifer, right? Because if you're God, angels and you didn't disappear because God was first. But if you're all knowing, all powerful, why did you create Lucifer knowing that he would be jealous of you? Uh-oh. I'm just saying. Anytime I break things down like this, I have people to run from me because I'm starting to break down the very foundation that they built up. Because I'm talking with such a carnal mind, right? But I'm talking on a level that people can understand. And then I get, well, what do you believe in? What did Steve Bryan say here? The brother says, Talking Snakes and Donkeys, 500-year-old men, Fish Belly Survival, a book of fairy tales for the gullible. Wow. I told you I was going to take some time here, but let's finish this video. I want the brother to finish his point. Very, very intelligent brother who spoke very well. And I have a lot of stuff off camera, like that I could not record that he was telling me, okay? Because again, he does work for that particular area in the Cape Coast Ghana, so he might be on a government level. He's getting paid, so I'm glad. I told him, you know, make sure you wear your mask. Hopefully, they probably can still figure out who it is if they see this video, but nonetheless, this is great information.